Yeah,
I'll be honest. We dodged a little bullet on that one.
We did.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Blue Jays Today, where we always have something to say about the Toronto Blue Jays. I'm your host, Nicholas Playlog.
And I'm your host, Adam Peddle. And today, guys, we're going to do a little bit of reflection back on the 2021 free agency class. Which free agents were the best and which team came out on top? Before we get into it, guys, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe and hit that post notification bell button and use code TODAYJays to get discounts and deals. It helps out the channel.
Yeah, buddy.
All right, Nick, start us off. Let's see some guys that did well coming out of the free agent class. Bring us into this one.
Well, I mean, I think everybody, Blue Jays fans that are watching this right now are like, hey, pick me, because we did pretty damn good, buddy. Robbie Ray, Marcus Semien come to mind. And what's especially special, that's kind of fun.
Very special.
Yeah, very special about both of those guys is that they weren't the biggest names. You know, they weren't the biggest names. And I think that this is a great time to do this podcast because we're going to see a little bit of a pattern develop here that, you know, some of the bigger names actually didn't do too hot and like some of the lower guys like really hit. And obviously Robbie Ray and Marcus Semien were like the biggest of hitters.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I want to jump off that. Like when I started doing my research, I looked at the top 5, top 6 guys named by MLB to be the, you know, the best free agents out there in the market. Realmuto is number 1. Bauer's number 2. We all know what happened to Bauer. Number 3 was George Springer. 4, LeMahieu, 5, Ozuna, and number 6 was Marcus Semien. So he eclipsed that, like he was the best, arguably.
Out of all of those guys, he was guaranteed.
You know what I mean?
Assuredly, he was better than all of those guys. And I would argue that Robbie Ray was right there with him the entire time. And it's interesting that you looked at those guys, too, because I was looking as well at right after the whole free agency had happened. Christmas was dying down. It was like February, like late February, March, I believe that this article was written. And they were looking at who kind of won that offseason. And I thought it was interesting to see who was at the top. And the number 1 and the number 2, it was the Padres and it was the Mets. And the Mets, buddy.
Dude, I remember thinking, remember me? After World Series contenders, Mets, Padres, going to the world, like they're going to play in the ALCS. I was all over it, man.
And I was as well, buddy.
We all were.
Wardy NYM convinced us.
Oh, yes.
And the media convinced us, because after you go out in freaking like off-season land, you go out, you make these big trades for Lindor, Carrasco, then you sign Lindor to a freaking crazy term deal. You go out, you buy James McCann. I think that was the first thing that happened
it was huge,
in the offseason. You go, you get Stroman on a thing, which was actually probably their best thing that they did.
Really good.
They got Marcus Stroman, and that was a pretty good qualifying offer because he finished very nicely.
Yeah, honestly.
Taijuan Walker, another thing.
Oh, yeah, Taijuan Walker wasn't too good. You just looked up his ERA right before this. What was it?
I believe it was 4.47. And you know what? That's I'll be honest. We dodged a little bullet on that one.
We did.
Because we were all over the Walker train,
But he started out really hot. I remember the whole time we're like, see, guys, when we had no pitcher, I was like, see, guys, you see this?
Yeah.
This is what we do for letting him walk.
We were like, we spent that fucking money on Robbie Ray. Are you kidding me?
Like, oh my God, Marcus Semien, what? We were not honest with Marcus Semien either. But
no, we weren't.
I digress. But the one guy out of that New York Mets team that did do really well, I think he is the best guy, obviously, and that is Marcus Stroman, because he got a qualifying offer for $18.9 million, a little bit more than Marcus Stroman, Marcus Semien, and 302. Both the Marcuses, and a 3.02 ERA, and he pitched 33 games. That's
absolutely,
incredible.
dude. And you know what? This is kind of like leading into that major point where did we hear a lot about Marcus Stroman? Did we hear a lot about this offer? No, I did not. I didn't hear a lot about it. It kind of flew under the radar.
It was like right off the top. It was like qualifying, boom, done.
Right off top, I was like, oh, all right, he's just back there. Like, that's just the Mets doing the Mets, Marcus Stroman doing Marcus Stroman.
I honestly thought it was kind of too much. I was like, oh, maybe too much.
Literally.
But no. Really good.
Right
really
on
good.
the money, dude.
Really
and you know what? It's fun just finishing off my Mets thing right now is that they were ranked like literally like number 1, number 2 as being like the best offseason. And I would argue when you look back, hindsight being 2020, it was maybe one of the worst for what they had to give up, for all the money that they had to do. And obviously hindsight is 2020. but it was pretty damn bad. And then you move over to the Padres and what they were doing, bringing in Snell, bringing in Darvish, and
Ha-Seong Kim.
Ha-Seong Kim, Profar. I believe that they went out and they got Profar too. And what happened to their team?
It imploded, man. It was not good.
It imploded.
It was not
imploded,
good.
bro.
But there was another National League team that really kind of flew under the radar a little bit. They had some good signings. They had some bad signings. But I'm talking about the Atlanta Braves.
Yeah.
Atlanta Braves, when they got Charlie Morton back, or they signed him from Tampa Bay, it was sneaky. It was one of those early ones, too. I was like, okay, this might work. But, $20 million for Morton. Let's see what he can do when he's like kind of aging. What'd you say?
I said, that's not enough.
Yeah,
I said that's not enough. I said
20 million.
Well, no, not nothing to do with the money.
Oh, okay.
But I was looking at their team and I was going, that's not enough. You need to go out. You need to get somebody else. I like Charlie Morton. I've been on Charlie Morton's train, but I'm looking at him. He's like fucking 1,000.
Exactly.
And I'm thinking,
Years old,
it's like this guy's like, well, maybe not really in the baseball mindset. You need somebody with higher upside.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people had higher upside than Charlie Morton this past year.
He was great. 3.34 ERA and a whip of 1.045. That's incredible. A guy of his age giving you that. Amazing. And he signed for another $20 million this year, so I wouldn't expect anything less.
And you know what? You look at this minimalistic offseason that the Atlanta Braves went and took, right? And again, at the time, I was thinking that's not enough. Now is the time. And granted, they did go and they got Ozuna. They signed him to a long-term deal, and obviously that
was a flop,
flopping now. Like we don't know what's going to happen with that long-term. But right now they're in baseball land and we're not.
Yeah,
they're up 2-0 on the LA Dodgers, and we sure as hell wouldn't be.
No.
So when you look at like what you actually did for your team, clearly it must have been good enough for you.
Yeah, good enough to get you to the trade deadline, to get you to pull the trigger a little bit, because they did pull a lot of triggers during the trade deadline. Granted, getting that whole new outfield after Acuna went down, but you did it. You did enough, and it's like that all went under the radar, man. Like, and that's incredible. That's what we're trying to get to here, guys. Is that you don't have to have a flashy offseason to do necessarily good.
Exactly, and I also, and this is a team that was really interesting because the Dodgers. I'm gonna talk about the Dodgers right now.
Yes.
And obviously the big thing that they did was the guy that everybody wanted. It was Trevor Bauer, and when he was there, he was crazy good, right? Like he was probably like one of the better guys to own.
2.59 ERA in 17 games.
Exceptional. Like that's what you paid for, right? Obviously he's got his own personal problems right now, and we'll see what happens with that, what develops. Will he be back on the team next year? We don't know. So this could be a horrible signing later down the line. We're not totally sure. But I didn't want to classify the Dodgers as a loss in the offseason or free agency because they're right back there again,
Yeah, I mean, they were. Then the thing is, the only move they made was Trevor Bauer because they literally only could make one move because they're guys. You're not replacing anybody with. Your team's better than most guys on the free agent market. Let's be honest.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
But it's also like I just wanted to give a little shout out of respect that it's hard to maintain like a literally like an elite caliber team, and they have, and they're right back where they were before. They are down 2 games, but
they are. But I mean, it's the Dodgers. It's the Dodgers.
I would not be surprised if they went out and they went crazy, bro.
No, there's another team going over to the American League side of things that did do really well. The Chicago White Sox.
I like a lot of what
had
they
a great offseason. They took a lot of shots, right? They took shots everywhere. Some notable ones are Liam Hendricks and Lance Lynn.
Yeah,
they took a lot of good shots, and obviously those worked out really good.
Bloody good shots, right? It's hard to go wrong with those guys. And White Sox did exactly what they needed. They boasted some of the best pitching all throughout the season. Like when you look at those team ERAs, it's phenomenal. Obviously, they got knocked out, but they were one of the best teams all year long. And I think it's just looking back at all of this, right? And you look at the teams that really popped off. And I would say, I'm going to claim it right now, I think that the Blue Jays won last free agency.
I think we did too, guys.
Right?
It was. I mean, you look at like what we did, and it was incredible. You want to go through what we did?
Well, it was fucking awesome.
It was awesome.
Like you got Marcus Semien on value, you got Robbie Ray on value.
Yeah, $8 million for the Cy Young Award winner.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
And that was a move early that I was like, oh, okay, I guess that's cool. You know what I mean? We could sign back Mats this offseason.
And we
be
got
like,
Mats last year, basically.
We
too.
did get Mats. We traded for him.
That was another thing.
It wasn't a signing or anything,
move,
but
it's a move, right?
And exactly, right? And like I'm saying, it's like if we get Mats back, $5 million, $6 million, I don't know how much Mats is going to be worth. It's like probably pretty cheap. And if we get him, and it's like, what if he becomes something special?
And he wasn't something like special, but he was like very good and serviceable this past year.
Did he end up under a 4 ERA?
Absolutely he did. Absolutely he did. Mats was a great move. I mean, you could make an argument here. Well, first off, like, this isn't even an argument. Like, Yates was a bust.
Busted.
Nothing that we could have done about that.
Yeah.
Like, there's just nothing. I think that the George Springer one, we'll still have to wait and see. Like, obviously, this past year, it's not really what we wanted for him.
Yeah.
He was amazing when he was on the field. Absolutely incredible. But we gotta hope that he's still healthy later.
See, that's the thing, though. It's like, you know, if you look at it like, maybe if George Springer was just a 1 year, $25 million, right? If you're just looking at 1 year, right? And it's like, then I'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, you did when he was healthy, did do really good. Like, he hit 907 OPS in 78 games, driving in 50 runs and 22 bombs. You're like, okay, like, that's good, you know? So, like, but that just shows how elite George Springer is. And like, if
George
he was
Springer's as good at baseball.
If he was healthy, $25 million for 1 year, that guy is a freaking deal.
Of course, man. But all of this being said, we fucking kicked ass last offseason. And I'm very excited about this coming offseason because clearly our management knows what they're doing. And also, guys, we don't have to go out and get the big ass name that's going to cost $30 million. No. Yes, Corey Seager would be really freaking nice in a Toronto Blue Jays uniform. Yes, Max Scherzer would be incredible. But very clearly, the management on the Toronto Blue Jays staff, maybe the management on the Braves, you could argue on the White Sox as well, has an ability to see things in guys that maybe other managers don't right now, and it works with their game plan, works with their coaching.
I mean, think about this, right? You spend $30 million on one dude, maybe like a little bit on another dude. That's a huge offseason you just had. One of them goes out on injury. One of them has a scandal. Boom. There goes a lot of your money. There goes a lot of your payroll. And now you're kind of basically in the same place you were last year. And if you're not the Dodgers, it might hurt you quite a bit. Right? So the Blue Jays got to be smart, diversify their spendings this offseason, bring in a bunch of guys. And if a bunch of guys hit, like a Robbie Ray, like a Simeon, and you know what, George Springer, if he was healthy, we would have had, like, just by far an incredible offseason. But we already won. But all these guys hit. So I'm excited to see what they can do this offseason, especially with the amount of money that we may have to spend. We have another podcast coming about that this week.
Yeah.
So.
And I'm also going to be paying a lot more attention to those lower key signings, not the crazy, and trades as well, but not the insane Francisco Lindor extensions and trades of that such. Yes, I still want Corey Seager, but I would be more than happy to go and pick up a sneaky guy that nobody's talking about.
Exactly.
You know?
Wado Escobar. Anybody?
Who knows?
Like,
who
you know
freaking knows, guys? But that was who is the best free agents from last offseason and the teams who we think won and lost. I didn't really say it, but I do think that the Padres lost. Even
they were the biggest.
They were some big losers.
It's like not even like injury. It was just like straight up like you
these
all
guys
failed.
All kind of
except
did
for Darvish.
Bad.
He was good.
Well, Darvish and Snell both finished with 4+
Oh,
ERAs.
Darvish did? Oh, shit. I missed that. Sorry, Dodgers.
Yeah, it's kind of shocking, actually.
Yeah,
but I don't know what happened there, guys, but just bad. But that's what we thought about last free agency. We're going to be doing a lot of videos talking about this coming one. We just wanted to take a look back in hindsight now that we have all this information and see who really was the winners. But please let us know in the comments down below what you thought about these teams and these players and what's coming up in this free agency.
Guys, you can also check us out on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Anchor Radio Public, and Breaker. Also, please make sure to like, subscribe, and comment down below all the things that Nick's saying. Also, Today Jays is our code for Monkey Knife Fight and Manscaped. Use the code Today Jays, guys. I'm waiting. Use the code, please. I want you to support us, please.
I would like your money.
I want your money. Oh, guys, but it's all good. Anything you can do to help out also helps us out. Become a patron. It's $3 a month. That's an easier way probably to help us out. And you can also come on to the show as well during our Wine on Wine when we're drinking, having fun. And shout out and thank you to all of these guys, all of these current Patreons. If you want to come onto the show, just let us know. Message us on Patreon and we'll get you on.
Yeah, dudes. Thank you so much for watching.
And
go Jays, go!